The planet Zephora was a jewel in its sector. Vast oceans shimmered under twin suns, and forests stretched like green oceans across the land. The cities were sleek, almost alive, with floating towers and streets that pulsed with light. Its people, the Zephorians, prided themselves on their intelligence, their technology, and their culture. They had faced challenges before, but always on their own terms within their borders. Nothing had prepared them for what was coming. Lyran, a young scout, perched atop one of Zephora's high cliffs, binocular-like eyes scanning the starry expanse. He was part of the Frontier Observation Corps, tasked with monitoring distant signals, but today something felt different. The usual calm of Zephora's orbit was disrupted by faint rhythmic pulses, a pattern too precise to be random. Lyran frowned. "These readings, they're unlike anything we've ever seen," he muttered, tapping a panel on his wrist. Back in the capital, the council chambers buzzed with anxiety. Holographic projections of distant star systems filled the room, displaying ships moving in formations that defied traditional calculations. The council elders exchanged worried glances. Could it really be? Humans, one whispered. The word carried fear, almost like a curse. Humanity was known across the galaxy, but only in tales and fragmented reports. Stories painted humans as unpredictable, dangerous, and sometimes unstoppable. Some claimed they had survived planets that should have killed them, conquered enemies far stronger than themselves, and emerged victorious from situations no one else could survive. For most, these were exaggerations. For Zephora, these tales had always seemed distant, until now. Lyran's comm beeped urgently. "Scout Lyran, report. What is your observation?" The voice belonged to Captain Varel, a seasoned officer whose calm demeanor rarely betrayed concern. "They're approaching faster than anticipated," Lyran replied. "Their ships move in tight formations. Their tech is adaptive. They are not ordinary human fleets. This is their Special Forces Division, the Deathworlders." A stunned silence fell over the chamber. "Deathworlders?" Varel's voice was steady, but even he could not hide the trace of worry. "Are you certain?" "I am certain. Their movements are precise, ruthless, and intelligent. They are trained for survival in environments no other species could endure. And they are coming here." The council erupted into debate. Some argued for diplomacy, some for evacuation, and others insisted on full-scale defense. The Zephorian military had long been proud of its superiority in technology. Their fleets could outgun most civilizations without effort. Yet the legends of human resilience gnawed at their confidence. As the debate raged, Lyran watched the first human scout ships enter Zephora's orbit. Unlike typical fleets, they did not swarm or attack immediately. They moved deliberately, scanning, observing, almost studying. Lyran could not read their intentions. Their silence was heavier than any weapon he had ever seen. Night fell over the planet, painting the forests and oceans in silver and shadow. Lyran returned to the observation outpost, heart pounding. He checked the readings again. The humans were scanning orbital satellites, analyzing defense protocols, and mapping potential landing sites. Their efficiency was terrifying. Elsewhere, in the human command ship, Captain Marcus stared at the holographic display of Zephora. His eyes were calm, but behind them lay years of experience and countless survival trials. Every Deathworlder in his fleet was handpicked, trained to endure and adapt. They did not fight recklessly. They observed, planned, and executed with precision. Humanity did not need to destroy everything to show its strength. They needed only to demonstrate what they could do if challenged. Lyran's comm buzzed again. "Captain Varel, they are preparing to deploy ground teams. Sensors indicate multiple landings near strategic outposts. This is not a test, they are moving in." The council's leader, Elder Myron, slammed his hand on the table. "Prepare our defenses. Activate the planetary shields and deploy interceptors. Show them that Zephora is not an easy target." Missiles streaked into the sky and energy beams lit up the darkening horizon, but human ships anticipated every move. In minutes, satellites that were meant to defend the planet were disabled with surgical precision. Not one human vessel had fired a full-scale weapon yet, but the impact was already catastrophic. Lyran could hardly believe his eyes. The Deathworlders moved like shadows on the battlefield, boarding a derelict alien outpost with ease. Within moments, the outpost was theirs. Not a civilian was harmed, not a weapon was fired recklessly, yet the alien security teams were incapacitated, immobilized, or trapped. Humanity's reputation was not a myth. This was real. The next day, panic gripped the cities. Citizens evacuated to shelters, streets emptied, and the once proud Xiphorian military was in chaos. Leaders whispered of surrender, but pride and disbelief held them back. How could a species so fragile in appearance move with such skill and strategy? Lyran moved cautiously through the forests near the landing sites. He observed the humans from a distance. They were not loud or aggressive in a conventional sense. They walked with purpose, scanning, analyzing, and adapting. Each human team carried minimal equipment yet seemed capable of handling anything the environment threw at them. It was as if the planet itself bent to their will. A small human squad approached a communication array. Without hesitation, they disabled it using tools that seemed more clever than violent. Lyran's stomach twisted with awe and fear. These humans were not just soldiers, they were engineers, tacticians, and predators combined. Every action was calculated, every step efficient. Lyran wanted to retreat to report back, but curiosity rooted him to the spot. One human looked directly in his direction, eyes scanning as if reading his thoughts. Lyran ducked behind a tree, heart hammering. He realized something crucial. These humans could think faster, adapt faster, and survive far better than any Xiphorian. The night stretched long. Fires from disabled installations flickered on the horizon, casting eerie shadows. Lyran hid, listening to distant footsteps and the quiet hum of human activity. In their calm, he sensed an overwhelming confidence, an unshakable certainty that they could achieve their mission without unnecessary destruction. Humanity was not merely a threat, it was a force of nature. By dawn, the first ground teams had completed their initial sweep. They secured resources, disabled key defense points, and left messages. Cooperate and your people live. Resist and you will face consequences unlike anything you have imagined. Lyran saw the aliens' confusion and fear. Entire cities began to murmur about surrender. Pride wavered. Lyran returned to the council, exhausted and pale. They are different, he said, struggling to find words. They are not just humans, they are the Deathworlders. They survive what we cannot. They adapt to every threat. They do not need to destroy to win. If we oppose them, we will not survive. The council sat in stunned silence. Elder Myron broke the quiet. We underestimated them. His voice was barely audible. We feared humans, but we did not understand them. Now we see. Lyran nodded. Outside, the twin suns rose, reflecting off the oceans and forests. The humans did not retreat. They did not celebrate. They simply continued their work, precise, deliberate, and unstoppable. Xiphora had faced threats before, but none like this. Humanity was no longer a distant legend. It was a presence, real and terrifyingly capable. As the day progressed, human squads moved deeper into Xiphora's terrain. Lyran watched from the shadows, learning more with each passing hour. He saw their teamwork, their improvisation, and their calculated mercy. Civilians were left unharmed if they complied. Alien soldiers captured without unnecessary bloodshed. Lyran realized the terrifying truth. Humanity was not merely strong, they were intelligent, adaptable, and utterly relentless. By nightfall, Lyran could barely contain his thoughts. He knew the council would never fully appreciate what they faced until it was too late. Humanity had arrived, and the Deathworlders' fleet had shown what the legends only hinted at. Xiphora would never be the same. Lyran sat on the cliff once more, watching human lights moving across the land below. His hand hovered over his communicator, unsure whether to report or simply observe. He understood something vital. This was only the beginning. Humanity did not need to prove itself. Its mere presence was a demonstration of power, strategy, and survival that no species could ignore. And somewhere in the distance, beyond the horizon, the humans continued their silent march. Calm, deliberate, and unstoppable, Xiphora's proud civilization had faced many challenges, but nothing could have prepared them for the Deathworlders. The first day had ended, but the story was just beginning. Humanity had arrived, fear had taken root, and the Xiphorians would soon learn what it truly meant to face the best humanity had to offer. The next morning, Xiphora woke to an eerie quiet. The first day of human arrival had left the planet in stunned silence. Skies that had once sparkled with hovering ships and dazzling city lights now seemed tense, as if holding its breath. Citizens peeked from shelters, whispering rumors of the humans' abilities. Every story grew taller than the last. Some claimed the humans could walk through fire without harm. Others said their weapons could strike before anyone saw them coming. Lyran, now more observer than scout, knew the truth was even more astonishing. The Deathworlders did not waste time. Small squads moved through forests, plains, and mountains, surveying each area with methodical precision. Their presence was calm, almost casual, but every step spoke of lethal efficiency. They were humans, yes, but unlike any the Xiphorians had ever imagined. Each one was a master of adaptation, capable of surviving and fighting in conditions that would kill others instantly. Lyran followed a squad through a dense forest, hiding behind a massive tree trunk. The humans were scanning the environment, pointing devices at plants, rocks, and soil. One human bent down, touching the ground with a gloved hand, and whispered into a small communicator. Within seconds, another human arrived with equipment, repairing what appeared to be a sabotaged energy conduit. It was quiet work, precise and purposeful, yet the aliens watching from the shadows could not help but tremble. In the capital, panic was reaching its peak. The Council tried to mobilize their fleets, but their strategies faltered against human anticipation. Ships sent to intercept human landings found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. It was as if the humans predicted every move before it was made. Elder Myron struggled to maintain composure. "They are not just soldiers," he said quietly. "They are something else. We have no defense that can match them." Meanwhile, the human command ship hovered silently in orbit, observing Zephora. Captain Marcus studied the holographic displays, calm and unshaken. His Deathworlders were performing as trained, adapting to each obstacle and neutralizing threats without unnecessary force. Humanity had never relied solely on brute strength. Intelligence, flexibility, and calculated risk were their greatest weapons. On the ground, Lyran watched as humans encountered a Xiphorian patrol. The aliens had been sent to capture or repel intruders, but they were quickly outmatched. The humans did not attack recklessly. Instead, they immobilized the patrol using devices that disrupted the aliens' energy shields, rendering them harmless without permanent injury. Lyran's stomach twisted in awe. Humanity had come prepared, and they did not need to destroy to demonstrate superiority. The Council convened an emergency meeting. "We must strike before they consolidate their positions," one officer shouted. Others shook their heads, fear evident in their expressions. They had underestimated these humans. Their pride and confidence were crumbling. As the debate raged, human squads had already reached strategic points. They secured energy nodes, communication towers, and transport hubs. Each action was calculated, leaving minimal damage but maximum effect. Civilians were guided to safe zones, given instructions in clear, concise language. The humans' ethical code was evident. They sought to achieve their objectives, not to create chaos. Lyran followed as a team moved toward the largest energy facility on the planet. The Xiphorians had fortified it heavily, confident in their advanced defenses. Missiles streaked across the sky, energy shields flared, and drones patrolled the perimeter, but the Deathworlders adapted instantly. One human deployed a small device that scanned the defenses, then transmitted real-time data back to the team. In minutes, the shields were bypassed without a single human casualty. Inside the facility, the humans moved with calm efficiency. They secured power cores, disabled traps, and prepared the facility for human control if necessary. Xiphorian guards attempted to resist, but each human acted with precision, outmaneuvering, disabling, or isolating threats. Lyran could not look away. The stories of human cunning were real, but witnessing it firsthand was unlike anything he had imagined. Outside, civilians watched in awe and fear. "Are they invincible?" one whispered. Another shook his head, unable to comprehend what he had just seen. The humans were not monsters, but they were unstoppable. Their discipline, skill, and adaptability exceeded anything Zephora had ever known. As night fell again, the humans gathered at a central point. They communicated silently, reviewing the day's progress. Marcus glanced at the data, nodding. Each team had secured objectives with minimal disruption. Humanity's strategy was clear: achieve dominance through skill, intelligence, and precise action, not reckless destruction. Lyran returned to the Council, heart heavy. "They have taken control of key points across the planet," he reported. "Every defense we relied on has been neutralized. They do not fight recklessly. They think, they adapt, and they endure. If we resist further, we will lose everything." The council sat in stunned silence. Some wept quietly. Others stared blankly at the floor. Pride and arrogance had been replaced by fear and disbelief. Sephora had faced threats before, but never like this. Humanity was not merely powerful. They were superior in ways the aliens could not match. In the following days, the humans continued their methodical advance. They encountered environmental challenges, dense forests, treacherous mountains, and harsh weather systems. Yet every obstacle was overcome. Teams adapted their tactics, improvised tools, and coordinated seamlessly. Alien defenses that once seemed impenetrable fell without a full-scale fight. Lyran observed a human engineer repairing a collapsed bridge. With minimal tools, the human reinforced the structure, allowing other squads to cross safely. Nearby, a human medic tended to a Xiphorian soldier who had been injured during resistance. The alien was unharmed, treated with care, and released. Lyran realized that humanity's strength was not only in combat, it was in survival, adaptation, and a code of ethics that demanded calculated action over chaos. The turning point came when a human squad secured the central communications hub. Xiphorian leaders attempted a counterattack, sending ships and troops to reclaim control. But the humans anticipated every move. They used the terrain, improvised defenses, and calculated strikes to neutralize attacks. The Xiphorians were forced to retreat, their confidence shattered. Lyran watched from a ridge as the humans displayed an almost supernatural coordination. No one spoke unnecessarily. Every action was purposeful. They communicated silently, moved as a single unit, and adapted instantly to changing conditions. Even the most experienced Xiphorian commanders could not comprehend their tactics. When the dust settled, the humans stood victorious. Key infrastructure was secure, threats were neutralized, and civilians were safe. They had demonstrated not only strength but discipline, intelligence, and restraint. Sephora had faced humanity and survived only because the humans chose not to destroy unnecessarily. The council convened one final time. Elder Myron's voice was heavy with disbelief. "We feared humanity," he said, "but we did not understand them. We imagined monsters. Instead, we have faced masters of survival, strategy, and strength. We have learned our place. Our pride is gone, replaced by knowledge of what true power is." Lyran nodded silently. He had observed humanity's might, intelligence, and discipline firsthand. The Deathworlders were not just soldiers. They were a testament to what humans could achieve when pushed to the limits of survival. The Xiphorians would never forget the day they met humanity. Captain Marcus, aboard the command ship, watched the planet below. His Deathworlders had completed the mission with efficiency and precision. They had demonstrated strength but also restraint and morality. Humanity had arrived on Sephora not just as conquerors, but as teachers of survival and strategy, leaving a lasting impression on an entire civilization. Lyran stood atop the same cliff where he had observed the first signals. The humans were gone from immediate view, but their presence lingered. Cities began to rebuild, lessons were discussed, and the Xiphorians knew that the galaxy held far more dangers than they had ever imagined. Humanity had arrived, and the memory of their methodical, unstoppable force would shape Xiphora's future forever. The twin suns set over Xiphora once more, casting long shadows across forests and oceans. Humanity had proven that survival, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome fear, arrogance, and even the most advanced defenses. The Deathworlders had come, shown their strength, and left a lesson that would resonate for generations. Lyran looked out into the distance, a mixture of fear and awe in his eyes. He understood now that humanity was unlike anything in the galaxy. They were not merely strong, they were resilient, intelligent, and unstoppable. And one day, other civilizations would learn this too, whether they were ready or not.